experience here in the aftermath of disasters. I look forward to getting a chance to compare notes later on this afternoon. Thank all of you for having me here. Let me just say that I am seriously thinking about running for president. I'm not going to make the decision until the end of April for several reasons, but the first of which is that I want to get my legislature finished, get the budget adopted, because I think the people that elect you deserve for you to finish your day job before you start chasing the next job. And so we're very close to the end of the budget process in my state, and we're working very hard to follow Craig's example in having a budget that leaves reserves for the years to come. I am glad to be back in Iowa. Let me just say straightforward, if I run for president, I'm going to run to try to win the Iowa caucuses. I think Iowa is not only important to winning the Republican nomination as the first state, I think it also may be the critical state for winning the presidential election. I think 2012 is likely to be a very close race, and at this state could be pivotal. So I got every reason in the world to be in Cedar Rapids, and I'm glad to be here and glad to have a minute with you. Kathy, in her efficiency, has told me to the second how long I can speak. And I know how to take orders, boss. In this election, I think if we win the election in 2012, it'll be because we make the election about policy. We make it about issues. And elections are about issues that helps Republicans. And the Democrats want elections to be about anything but the issues. Look at 2010. The 2010 election is the most policy-driven election I can ever remember. And it was the most massive repudiation of the President and the Democrat Congress's policies of any, perhaps in all of American history. And for good reason. When we elected a new president in 2008, we were very concerned about economic growth and job creation. And the idea of give hope a chance, we thought was going to be about growing the economy and creating jobs. And yet we have seen in 2 years of the Obama administration, virtually every policy that they have put forward makes it harder to create jobs. The President proposes the largest tax increase in American history. How can employers and entrepreneurs create new jobs when they've got the gigantic tax increase hanging over their head for 2 years? So in the lame duck session, the President throws in the towel on his big tax increase strictly because not a single Republican senator would vote for it. Not because he changed his mind, but because he lost. The news media covers this and says, you know, this is a great move to the middle. You know, that the President is now becoming more pro-business. I think it was more like what Ronald Reagan called the first play in the Democrat playbook. Fake up the middle and run around left end. Why did I say that? Because as soon as the President made his State of the Union address, he said he still wanted that tax increase. He came out in the State of the Union address. I still want to raise income taxes on the people that create jobs. But then we saw his budget. The Obama budget, $1.3 trillion of tax increases. So how do you grow the economy and create jobs when you load the economy down with $1.3 trillion of tax increases? Or spending. It is very clear. You can look at the data. When federal spending goes up as a percentage of GDP, employment, the number of people working, goes down. Those two move in almost literally identical inverse relationships. The more the federal government spends, the fewer people employed. The less the federal government spends, the more people employed. Makes a little sense because the less the federal government spends, the more money there is for private investment. And private investment and job creation proceed almost hand in hand. Private investment goes up, the number of people working go up. That's pretty simple for us to understand. When the government sucks all the money out of the economy, how could the private sector grow? They think, in this administration, that more federal spending is good for the economy. Well, the federal government is just like your family and your business. Your family can't spend itself rich, and the federal government can't spend itself rich either.
Amen.
A bigger government means a smaller economy. The American people know that. That's why they voted against all this spending. That's why they voted against these taxes. And look at the other big things the Obama administration did. Obamacare, to drive up the cost of health care. I mean, I can remember efforts for government-run health care systems for more than 20 years. But this is the first time the result was it would make health care be more expensive. It would make health insurance premiums go up. How do you hire more people if you're an employer if you don't know what your obligations for health care and the cost is going to be? Energy policy. The energy policy of the Obama administration is to drive up the cost of energy so Americans will use less of it. That's not an energy policy, that's an environmental policy. That's a policy to reduce pollution. We need a policy to grow the economy, and that policy is more American energy. Now, when the British put down the anchor at Jamestown 400 years ago, they found affordable, abundant American energy, and that should be our policy. And that policy should be more oil and gas, it should be more coal, it should be more nuclear, it should be more alternatives. You'd be glad to know we have a lot of biofuel facilities in my state, from ethanol to biodiesel to a company now that has just signed a huge contract to turn wood into biofood that can be refined in a refinery with petroleum. So I'm not against alternatives. I'm not against conservation or efficiency. That's the low-hanging fruit. We need to conserve and be more efficient. But as long as anybody in here except maybe Sean, we're going to be an economy that uses a tremendous amount of oil, gas, coal, and we need to produce more of it, not less of it. So that's why I think the best thing for Republicans is to make this election about issues, or it to be about public policy, because the public agrees with us on policy. It's not just the Republicans, it's not just the Tea Party. But look at the last election. Independents voted Republicans 60-40, and the election was almost exclusively about policy. So we need to keep the focus on policy. A, it's good politics. More important, it helps get our country back on track. Let me just close by saying this. I'm not one of these guys that's been dying to run for president all my life. I've had a great life. I wouldn't give anything for it. I married my trophy wife the first time. And, we've been married 40 years in December. We got 2 wonderful, successful children and 4 grandchildren who are great. The other day I said we got 4 great-grandchildren, but we have 4 grandchildren who are great. We don't have any great-grandchildren. But if there was a moderately liberal Democrat in the White House, somebody like Bill Clinton, I would think about that. But I'm worried about where our country's going. I mentioned somebody outside. I've been involved in politics since I dropped out of college in 1968. And ran 30 counties in the presidential campaign in this city. I've been involved in every presidential campaign since. But only in the last year and a half or 2 years have I heard the expression I'm going to quote to you today. I never heard this during the height of the war in Vietnam, during the deaths of Watergate, during Jimmy Carter's malaise, during Bill Clinton. And that is this sentence. I am afraid my children and grandchildren are not going to inherit the same country I inherited. I've never heard that before the last year and a half or 2 years. I hear it every day. I hear it from executives and professionals. I hear it from nurses, school teachers, firemen. I hear it from small business people and their employees. I'm afraid my children and grandchildren are not going to inherit the same country that I inherited. we don't want to be the generation who is the first generation since literally the founding of the country. It did not leave this country better than we found it. And I think that's what this election is about. And I think the answer to getting us back on the right track is to follow the right policies. Policies of limited government, lower taxes, less spending, rational regulation, peace through strength, open markets. Those are the things that made us great. And those are the things we have drifted away from in these 2 years. And we need to get back to and get back to. Thank you to the Linn Eagles for letting me come see you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.